So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and I welcome you back in this live session by Drishti IAS. Today in this session we will be having a look at today's Indian Express and then we will be practicing some question. Today I will be giving you one more article for your own read because we have discussed the few aspects of that particular article. So for your homework you will be doing that. Other than that, the same procedure will follow. We will start with the front page and then I will discuss these three important articles, that is Krishna Janmabhoomi and Idgah dispute. Obviously this court has to decide on that, and Allahabad High Court has given some kind of order recently, so we will talk about that. After that, there is ISRO preparing for Chandrayaan 4, and then PLI versus new industrial policy. This new industrial policy draft has been made, and it was made for the discussion and consultation for the stakeholders. But then there is no you can say progress in on that front, because there is another scheme, that is production linked incentives by the government of India, that is for the some kind of incentives will be given to a selected sectors for their production related activities. So because of which this particular policy has taken a step back. So we will talk about that, what will be the impact of that, then some world affairs, and then practice question as usual. Okay, having a look at the front page, here you can see that day after security breach, turmoil in parliament, 14 opposition MPs suspended for remainder of session. So basically the thing is, these 14 MPs has been suspended because of some activities they have done. Speaker said that they are hindering the process, and that is why they are suspended for the remaining of the session. Okay, now here we will be talking about this particular article, suspending opposition MPs at least 71 times since 2019. We will see what are the impact of that. Okay, after that, this Mathura dispute, High Court allows survey of Shahi Idgah mosque complex. Before that also there was this dispute related to Gyanvapi, okay, and in that case also they have allowed a survey by ASI. Okay, so similar instance has been taken over here. We will talk about that. Okay, we will not go into the political angle of it, we will only revolve around the historical angle, considering that this particular masjid, if we are talking about, and the disputed land, there is some historical angle attached to it. We will talk about that. So the first thing would be Mathura dispute, High Court allows survey of Shahi Idgah complex. So there is this Gyanvapi mosque that was near to the Kashi Vishwanath temple. Over there was a dispute that some of the part of this mosque has some features of Hindu temples, because of which High Court has given permission for, or you can say order for, the survey by the ASI to go into the technicalities or the expert angle in that case. Similar instance has been taken in this case, wherein Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi issue was in news. Okay, so here you can say Allahabad High Court allowed an application for the appointment of a commission to inspect the Shahi Idgah mosque complex in Mathura. Hindu petitioners contended that the mosque was built on the Krishna Janmasthan, the birthplace of Lord Krishna. Okay, so this particular petition has been filed by, you can say, various people. Among them, one is the next friend to Lord Krishna. The term here, the next friend, is a legal term. Okay, you can say. So in a legal term, next friend means if a person who volunteers to help, okay, this person, let's say this next friend, Mr. A, he volunteers to help or represent someone who is incapable of representing. So basically, if a person who is incapable of representing himself in court of law, in that case a next friend can represent him. Okay, he can volunteer. And why this person is incapable, there can be various situations. Okay, considering that he might be a minor, other than that he might have some kind of disability or have some other reason because of which he cannot represent himself in the court of law, and that is why the next friend would represent that. In this case also a next friend would be representing Lord Krishna over here. Okay, we don't have to remember the name of that particular person, but you can say that is Advocate Ranjana Agnihotri. Okay, the court has allowed our plea for appointment of a commission to the survey site. Shahi Idgah mosque in Mathura was built on the orders of Emperor Aurangzeb after demolishing the temple. So this is the historical angle which is attached to it. Okay. So here two things we have discussed, that is one, this historical angle. Second, we have discussed that the term that is legal friend, or you can say next friend. Okay. Moving further, there was this explained section on this particular issue. Here we will talk about that Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi Shahi Idgah Masjid dispute. Okay, the Allahabad High Court has allowed application seeking appointment of a commission, wherein that commission will go for a survey. Okay, so that was about this. And Emperor Aurangzeb in 1670 stands atop of the birthplace of Lord Krishna, this particular construction, that is a mosque. Okay, so basically you have to remember that this Aurangzeb is related to, okay, and it is in the 1670s. You don't have to remember the year, just remember that in the 17th century when Emperor was Aurangzeb, and he has ordered for the demolition of the temple, and over which they have started building this construction. Okay. So in the latest plea they are asking for three things. Here this terminology we have explained, the next friend. They have asked for the three things. First, the survey of that particular temple. Second, they have said that there should be some kind of direction to the Sunni Central Waqf Board and the Shahi Idgah Mosque Committee to remove all the construction raised by them encroaching upon the land. Okay, so they are saying that second thing, they are asking that they should remove all the construction they have done by encroaching the land. Okay, the third thing, they are saying that some kind of restricting order, okay, to use this 13.37 acre of complex that is disputed land. Okay, so these things they have asked, that is not important for your exam point of view. Now important thing here is that Hindu side is claiming this particular thing, that this is built on a Hindu structure, because they have certain elements which can prove that it is on the Hindu structure. So there is a kalash at the top of the building. We know that in our temple architecture there is an importance attached to the kalash. Okay, that kalash is visible here. Okay, that is why we can say that that is an element of Hindu architecture. That is why one thing. Second thing is there is a pillar with a lotus shaped top. Okay, so these pillars are also architecture of element of this architecture in India from the time of Mauryan Empire, and this elements like lotus shaped top etc. was element of indigenous architecture. Okay. Then image of Sheshnag. This Sheshnag is basically in our theology it is said that Sheshnag is the one on which Lord Vishnu basically resides. Okay, so here there is image of Sheshnag, one of the Hindu deities. It is on the engraved on the walls of the architecture. So that is the third element. And the fourth is there are many religious Hindu symbols and engravings inside the walls and the, you can say, base of the pillar, which here they are talking about. So there are these four elements which says that this particular site on which this mosque is built, it was earlier a Hindu temple. Okay. Now they have asking about a compromise agreement that was signed in October 1968. Now that compromise agreements has been signed between two parties. Now this next friend etc. they are contending that one of the party from the side of the Krishna Janmasthan, that party was not capable to give or get into such contract, because the thing is they did not have the title of the land. Okay, they did not have any right over the land. Okay, that is why that contract, or you can say the compromise agreement itself, is a void agreement. It is a matter of fact and history that Aurangzeb has issued an order for demolition of large number of Hindu religious temples and places, which is a fact. Okay, it has happened in the past. So in that line this particular temple was also demolished. Okay, 1969-70s the army of Aurangzeb partially succeeded to demolish Keshav Dev temple. This basically temple is attached over there in the disputed land, Keshav Dev temple, and constructed a forcible raise showing of the might of the power, and said construction was named as Idgah Mosque. Okay. So basically they are saying that on the remnants of the Keshav Dev temple they have raised this particular architecture, that is Idgah Mosque. Okay. Now Muslim side is claiming that they are, the evidences they are putting forward are basically assumptions, or you can say they do not have any kind of evidence to support that. Okay, these are just imaginary construct. They are saying that the Shahi Idgah Mosque does not fall within the ambit of 13.37 acre of land, that is basically the disputed land, the Katra Keshav Dev temple. place of birth of Lord Krishna does not lie beneath the mosque. This is the contention of the Hindus, that this particular mosque is built on the remnants of the Janmasthan, and now they are saying that there is no evidence to prove that. That is the contention of the Muslim side. Okay, but even if that might be a wrong thing, but the thing is, here these are the elements of architecture. You cannot deny that, because these are Hindu architecture's elements. And when we are talking about the Islamic, let's say architecture, etc. Earlier, you must know that there are they do not go for the idol worship, or they do not go for the picturization of the elements of nature, etc. So pictures like this Sheshnag, etc. Says that there is some kind of Hindu element attached to the architecture. Okay, so this is what Hindus are contending right now. Okay, now Gyanvapi orders are saying that in the Varanasi there is the Kashi Vishwanath temple, and beside that there is this particular mosque, and similar issue was raised over there, that mosque was built on the remnants of the Hindu temple, and the High Court has gone for the videographic survey. After that, they have gone for the archaeological survey by the Archaeological Survey of India. Okay, so in the same case here, they are going for the similar instance, and they have ordered and survey by the Archaeological Survey of India. Okay, so that is about this Mathura issue and Mathura and Idgah issue. Okay, now we will move forward. ISRO to launch Chandrayaan-4 to bring back samples from moon. Recently, you must have heard about Chandrayaan-3 successful landing over there, and then the module, propulsion module, which was coming to they have performed their operations, and that was supposed to be end their operations, but then there was remnant, some fuel was remaining, and that is why we have performed another endeavor to bring it back to the Earth's orbit. Okay, and doing that, we are signaling that, or we are trying to know that what will be the trajectory if we want to come back from moon to the Earth orbit, because that will be important for our next missions like Gaganyaan, etc. So in this article, ISRO has given some kind of hints about their aspirational plans in the future. Okay, ISRO has planned to launch Chandrayaan-4 to bring back samples from the moon. Till now, what we have done is that we have reached to the moon, we have performed soft landing over there, we have sent our lander and rover over there, and the next step is to that we will use some robotic arm and then bring back some samples from moon. Okay, now elaborating on the Space Agency's vision 2047. Okay, by 2047 there are some elements which they are trying to do, let's say Gaganyaan, then Indian Space Center, all these things are there in their plan. The first module of the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, India's planned space station, that will be capable of conducting experiment with the help of robots, will be launched by 2028. So that is one target. By 2028 we will be using a robot arm to perform certain experiments on Bharatiya Antariksh Station, or you can say Indian Space Center. Okay, station or center. Then Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called upon the space agency to set up a space station by 2035. Okay, that was done a few months back, wherein Prime Minister has asked ISRO to go for such thing. These are some aspirational target which has been set, men to moon by 2040. Okay, so basically we have. Now we have Gaganyaan, after that we have Indian Space Station, and then we are trying to reach at the moon, that is you can say a manned mission to the moon by 2040. Okay. The SPADEX experiment. SPADEX experiment is related to, they are trying to do this experiment in the future. This experiment is belonging to the demonstration of the autonomous docking capacity. What is docking capacity? I will tell you in the next slide. But the thing is, what they are trying to do is, they are in the space, whenever they want to, let's say some kind of interaction between two space satellites, or you can say two spacecrafts. So this docking operation is performed over there, wherein a spacecraft is there, the second spacecraft will come and attach to it, and they will perform some activities, and then it can detach. Okay, so that is basically the docking operation. Let's say we the train bogies you must have seen, something like this would be there, and this will come and attach with this. So somehow these bogies will be attached to one another. Similar operation will be performed by the spacecraft in the space stations or in the external atmosphere. Okay, sorry, outside the Earth's atmosphere. So SpaceX experiment demonstrate autonomous docking capability, process where two spacecraft are aligned in precise orbit and joined together. Okay, two satellites that are connected to each other will be launched. They will separate out, travel for a few kilometers. They will do their work, then come back and connect again. Okay, so that is the thing. While India successfully developed the lander and rover on Chandrayaan 2 and 3, even Russia backed out. Initially, the lander and rover was to be built by Russia, but Russia backed out from the cooperation, and then India developed their technology indigenously and sent the lander and rover on moon. Okay, and India becomes the first country to soft land on the south pole of the moon. Okay, so that is one great achievement from Indian side. Now that sample return mission. So as I told you that they are trying to get back the samples from the moon. Okay, in that particular endeavor, it is important that how do we decide the trajectory of let's say the spacecraft which is coming out from the moon's gravity or let's say moon's orbit and then enter into Earth's orbit and then comes to the atmosphere of the Earth without any kind of concern related to safety, because when such spacecrafts are running towards the Earth, there will be going against the air resistance, etc. There are chances that they will go or catch fire. So for all these things we should have safety measures in place, and ISRO is trying to achieve all those things by various experiments. Here for sample return mission we need much more technology than what we have developed for the landing. Okay, robotic arm to collect samples, mechanism for docking, moon orbit and Earth orbit, transfer of samples, re-entry into atmosphere without burning. These are the endeavors which will be important, and all these endeavors will be important when we are talking about the Gaganyaan mission. In Gaganyaan mission, spacecraft has to go out in the outer space and then come back to the Earth safely. Okay, so that is why it is important that re-entry into atmosphere without burning up should be ensured. Okay, then Gaganyaan mission will send astronaut to low Earth orbit and bring them back. As I told you, in this case we will be going to the outer space, then we will come back inside. While the ISRO recently demonstrated a trajectory to bring back spacecraft from the moon to Earth orbit using leftover fuel in the propulsion module for the sample return mission. We have discussed it in the previous lectures as well, and here also they are saying that we have performed one endeavor because we had some fuel remaining in the propulsion module. Okay, in Earth orbit, spacecraft will have to dock with another module that will bring it to the Earth. So basically what they are trying to say here is that spacecraft will go to the moon orbit, okay, and then it will detach, it will go for sample collecting, it will come back, attach to it, it will come to the Earth orbit where already a spacecraft will be there it will connect to the Earth orbit related spacecraft, and then it will bring it to the in the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, after that parachutes will be used to splash down. Okay, now they are trying to work on a technology wherein satellites will be able to refuel other satellites at the in the space. ISRO service module that will be able to use robotic arms for maintenance of the modules and even to replace the modules when needed. This is important. Okay, when you will have a space center outside, we have that project, so we should have this technology wherein we can provide for the refueling of the spacecraft. That is one thing. Second thing is, if any module is going for some kind of technical glitch, so this particular space center will have some kind of let's say robotic arm for the maintenance of that glitch. Okay, so that is important. We are working on that as well. Okay, then for building the entire space station, a heavier launch vehicle is needed, and for that we are going for the next generation launch vehicle, that is NGLV. Okay, so we are working on that as well. The capacity of carrying capacity will be from 16 ton to 25 tons. Okay, that is important. Then we are going with the collaboration. We are going for the collaboration with NASA and European Space Energy Agency, wherein we are working on a common interference so that we can use their space centers, or they can use our space centers. We can go for missions which are we can cooperate on the mission. That is why a common interface related talks are in working when we are talking about NASA and European Space Energy. Okay, sorry, agency. I'm sorry. The current International Space Station, built in the collaboration of various several nations, will go out of the orbit or deorbit itself in 2030. So current space center will be out of orbit in 2030, and that is why our endeavor even becomes more important. Okay, so that is about ISRO's launch to ready to launch Chandrayaan 4 and other plans with respect to vision 2047. Okay, now I have discussed this article here. I have mentioned all the things which I have discussed about the Chandrayaan mission, then Bharatiya Antariksh Station launched by 2028, and this SPADEX, that is the docking related activity, as I told you. It will check for the automatic docking capability between the two spacecrafts. Then ISRO is developing few things for your sample collection that I told you about, the robotic arm, then docking mechanism we have discussed for the moon and earth orbit, and re-entry into the atmosphere related to Gaganyaan. And then sample return mission, we have talked about it, and ISRO is developing an inflatable habitat module. Okay, so basically they are, when we are thinking about sending men to the space, we should have some kind of module or experimental test modules. So they are making this inflatable habitat module for astronauts, satellite refueling technology, and service module for the satellite management. As I told you that this refueling technology and the maintenance related modules. Okay, now let's see the docking activity here. For example, I have taken this. It is not specific. Here you can see there is a spacecraft which was earlier attached, and then at the site they will detach from itself. Okay, so it has detached. It has went for their maneuvers or endeavors, and then they have performed certain experiment, and it is coming back and attaching to the same satellite module. Okay, so here we can say that this is the docking activity, wherein this spacecraft will be on the one location. This will detach from it and come back and dock again with the earlier satellite, okay, or spacecraft. So that is about docking activity. Now next generation launch vehicle, we have talked about it. International collaboration, we are talking with NASA and European Space Agency for a common interference between Indian Space Station and their stations, enabling joint operation and potential collaboration. Okay, so you can take a screenshot, or you can read all these things at your own. Now as PLI takes center stage, government puts new industrial policy on a back burner. So basically we are saying that here this new industrial policy which was to be announced has taken a step back, because government is focusing more on the PLI scheme. Okay, the new policy was in works for 2 years, and draft circulated among ministries in December 2022. PLI scheme launched in March 2022 now be focal point for the boosting manufacturing. Okay, we will discuss what is PLI scheme, but the expert cautions that PLI may alone not be enough for the make in India an attractive investment destination. So basically PLI, this particular scheme PLI, what they are doing is they are giving you production linked incentives. So that is good for your manufacturing sectors, okay, but the thing is they are doing it for some certain 14 sectors only. Okay, that is one thing. They are going it for the 14 sectors. What about the other sectors? That is one thing. Second thing is, when you are giving incentives, what about the technology, what about the finance for the other things? So these are some constraints. Other than that, in our business module we have some constraints like this rare tapeism is there. There is very many clearance which is required. So for all these things, if you are not going for the structural reform in all those areas, the PLI scheme will be good for the domestic investors. But the thing is, when we are talking about the international investors to come and invest in our economy, you should have a simple procedure. For that, structural reforms are required, and that structural reforms would be done by the industrial policy. Okay, so that is why industrial policy becomes important. Here, let's start with the article. New industrial policy, which has been in works for 2 years and draft of which was circulated for consultation, has now been pushed to back burner, with the government firmly placing its bet on the new flagship scheme, that is production linked incentives scheme, to drive up the manufacturing and catalyzing the private investments. Hold on. So this industrial policy, which was in making, will be the third policy in India Second policy was announced in 1991 when we were going through the BOP crisis, and then we have come up with the liberalization of the economy, and then that policy has performed well. Okay. So that is one thing. There are very lacunas in that policy related to structural reforms. That is why we have gone for the third, making the third industrial policy. Okay. But the thing is, meanwhile, we have come up with the PLI scheme, and PLI scheme was doing good, and that is why government is focusing more on that. Okay. Now here you can say industrial policy is expected to be released this year would have been the third such framework. Historic policy of 1991 in the backdrop of the balance of payment crisis, ushering in the liberalization of the economy. While the PLI is incentivizing and compensating for the disadvantages that exist in the economy, it may not be adequate that the company is looking for an alternative to China. So basically, now in this emerging world, or you can say when we are talking about the world post COVID, at the global level there is not much you can say growth. Okay. There has been some incidents related to economical stagnancy in the Europe, and then USA is looking inward because of all these things, and now China is also going through a slowdown, wherein China is growing at the rate of some 4 to 4.5%. That is why countries are looking for diversifying their supply chain or their investment. So that is why India becomes an alternative for them, and if we provide for a good structure or structural reforms for this and making the procedure easy for the investment to come, that will enhance the India's growth rates. Okay. So that is why they are saying that only PLI will not be sufficient. Okay, no doubt they are working on the disadvantage. They are compensating for the disadvantage that exists in the today's domestic economy. But the thing is, when we are talking about becoming an alternative for the manufacturing hubs like China, you should have you have to do some more than just PLI scheme. You have to go for a new industrial policy. Whenever you are going for the policy change or the structural reforms which are in the lines with the global trends, okay, that gives a positive sign to the markets, or you can say investors. Okay. And also when you have a fixed policy, so that is there is a certainty attached to it, and that is why it becomes incentive, it becomes an incentive for the investors that there is a certain policy, and that is why they can go come and invest. Okay. So that is one thing. There are some challenges related to logistics cost, infrastructure bottlenecks, and lack of funds for MSME. So basically here these three things, you are giving incentives for production. Okay, that is one thing. But what about the logistics? What about the lack of funds for the MSMEs, and what about the things related to infrastructure bottlenecks? These are the structural things where you have to provide for the reforms. That is why this industrial policy would be important here. Okay. So that is here you can see that in this industrial policy 2022, this policy was given or giving or proposing, you can say, bold moves like development finance institutions, DFIs. Okay. The job for this institution is to provide finance for the development. So that is one thing, development finance institution, and use India's forex reserve to provide for the low cost finance to the companies. Okay. So ultimately this industrial policy 2022, make in India for the world. Okay. So this was the theme of this policy, make in India for the world, wherein they are talking about the development financial institution and other financial activities wherein you can use India's forex reserve. Okay. And they are also talking about setting up a technology fund. Okay, for what? For going for the new startups in the technology area. Okay, we know that we are having this technological revolution when we are talking about 5G, AI. So there are many emerging technology coming up, and India cannot be left behind this time, and India has to do something about it. And then that is why they are talking about the technology fund as well. Okay, so other than that, they have discussed that China first policy. Okay. So in order to that is China plus one policy, right? China plus one. Okay. In this policy, what is happening is that the countries are looking for diversification from the reliance on China. Okay. There are many things. Even India is reliant on China for APIs, etc. Okay. So now they are looking for the plus one. They are looking for the another supplier of all these things, so that the value chain might not be disturbed if China cannot provide for that. Okay. So that is why if India is trying to become one of that particular option for world to become that +1. Okay. So now India has to do some kind of reforms in the structural system, and that is why PLI cannot alone cannot take care of all these things. That is why you have to go for the new industrial policy. Okay. Here, however, PLI is partial solution. It is the subsidizing the sectors that has some kind of disadvantage, and that can be compensated. Okay. So there are some 14 sectors wherein they are having some kind of disadvantage, and the government is trying to compensate that. But when we are talking in order to bank upon the China +1 policy, India has to made an attractive destination for the investors. Merely PLI cannot do that. What India requires to be, if India wants to be an alternative destination for China. Okay. So that is why we have discussed this particular article. As I told you, there are 14 sectors where government is giving some kind of incentives, and they are spending some 1.90 lakh crore rupees. Okay. So that is about this article. Ultimately, we have discussed all these things. Here one thing, manufacturing sector has a share of 17%, and target for our Indian government is to make that 17% to 25%. It was for by 2022, but obviously we could not achieve that. So the current government has reiterated it again. Okay. So here are the details of it. If you want to read it, you can read it. Other than that, this China +1 or China +1 strategy is the supply chain management strategy. It involves establishing an additional supplier relation in another country to reduce reliance on the Chinese manufacturing. Okay. So that is about this article. Okay. Suspending opposition MPs at least 71 times since 2019. Okay. Here are some data which has been given that they have suspended 71 MPs. Okay, while parliament was in session because of some kind of activities they are providing or disturbing the parliament or whatever. Okay. What are the implications? Implications are, there is issue in the functioning of parliament. Okay. Whenever something like this happened, one thing is you are making these 71 representative of the people out of that house. So obviously the voice of people which they would have represented would stay outside the house. One thing. Second thing is, if these 71 people are performing some kind of disturbing activities, or they are kind of disturbing the house, ultimately it is having some effect on the productivity of the parliament or the productivity of the house. Okay. Then you cannot go for a meaningful discussion, meaningful debates. Okay. Disturbing parliament will reduce the productivity of the session, productivity of the parliament. Ultimately it will reflect on the laws which we are implementing, because if we are not going for any productive discussion on a particular law, so there can be an incidence where laws can be passed in haste. Okay. So that is why this becomes, or it negatively impact the productivity of parliament. And then there is a role of opposition when we are talking about a parliamentary democracy. There is a role of opposition. Okay. When such acts happen, okay, in that case you are not actually performing your duty responsibly. Okay. In a parliamentary system or in a multi-party system we are talking about, then there is an important role of opposition to ask question or to keep a check on the government in power. Okay. If they are doing anything wrong, obviously even if you are not having majority, but you have a platform from where you can ask them question, and whole country might get to know about it, whole country might get to know about the issue. So that is one platform for you. And if you are doing certain activities and getting suspended from the house because of your conduct in the house, that will impact the productivity, and obviously that compromises somewhere the credibility of the opposition. Okay. So that is why we have taken this. You can directly mention this fact. Okay. At least 71 times MPs has been suspended since 2019. Okay. So that is about this article. Moving further, after troop removal demand, Maldives says ending pact with India on water survey. So there is a change in the regime in the Maldives. We have discussed that. Okay. President Moizu, which has started a India out campaign when he was contesting the elections. In that India out campaign, he has said that the India first policy they had. Okay, they will be replacing that, and they will keep Indian military forces or Indian military personnel out of their country. Okay, now these military personnel, when we are talking about, or you can say, these are there not for any military purpose but disaster related purpose. There are certain helicopters. Okay, there are 2 helicopters and aircraft provided by India to Maldives. Okay, to their Maldives National Defense Force for their emergency medical evacuation and disaster relief operations. Okay, Maldives at the risk of because of the sea level rise and other climate actions, it is at the risk of extreme events, and that is why we have provided this help to Maldives. And to operate these helicopters and the aircraft, there are 77 military personnel in Maldives to operate these platforms. Okay, so ultimately it was not for a military purpose, for a disaster relief purpose, and now Maldives is saying that you have to withdraw this. Okay, that is one thing. Second, now they are saying that they are not renewing the pact which has been signed for the water survey or hydrological survey in the area. Okay, so there was a pact which has been signed between India and Maldives, which says that India will be helping or performing some kind of survey in the coast around the Maldives, and that you can say they will make some kind of studies and charts related to the reefs, lagoons, coastal features in the Maldives area. Okay, but now there was a clause in this particular pact that if you are one party want to withdraw from this, you have to go for a some 6 months of notice. Okay, Maldives is saying that we have provided the notice. Second thing is, if you are not renewing the agreement without any kind of notice, that agreement will be renewed automatically. Okay, so obviously here they are saying that they are not wanting to renew the agreement. Okay, that is why we have taken this article. Now earlier this president, the then president Ibrahim Mohammed Soleh, he had a pro India policies, and President Moizu, when we are talking about, he has anti India. We cannot say anti India, but obviously he is not prioritizing India. Okay, earlier when we are talking about his past tenures, and he was a minister over there, then he has some kind of inclinations towards China. Okay, considering that, we are saying that there is a considerable change in the dynamics of India Maldives relations. Okay, we have to look, or we have to keep check on this particular thing. Okay, so I have discussed about this particular pact. As I told you, they have given this one party wish to drop the agreement, the other party must inform the decision 6 months before the agreement set to expire. Okay, so we have discussed this. Other than that, there is nothing much from the article. The thing is, you have to keep a track on the India Maldives relations, because it has been in the past 1 or 2 months, it has been in news for 3 to 4 times. Okay, second thing, India and Maldives has friendly relations. Okay, they have never gone for anything like this. Okay, terminating the agreements, etc. So that is why it becomes important. So this India out campaign becomes important for your prelims as well. Okay, so that is about this India and Maldives related issue, and you have to keep a tab on that. Okay, now in the world affairs, war will go unless Kiev does not provide any deal or does not go on a deal with the Russia. So basically here we are talking about Russia Ukraine, and Russia is saying that we will be going for the war till Ukraine is signing some kind of agreement with them, and also they are saying that they have to agree on the terms wherein they have to consider the security concern of Russia in the account. What are the security concerns? That is NATO or NATO. Okay, so this NATO alliance which is expanding eastward, so that is concern for Russia, and Russia is saying that since Ukraine is also has this intention to join NATO, okay, that is why they have gone for this particular incident or this particular war, or they are saying that they will not actually stop until you are signing some kind of agreement or a deal which says that they will take into account the Russia's concern. Basically, that is they will not join NATO. Okay, that is one thing. Other than that, he has said that Russia's core goals remain denazification and demilitarization and the securing Ukraine's neutrality. Okay, when we are talking about Ukraine's neutrality, here they are saying that that particular country should not go into the or become the USA's ally or become the part of NATO bloc. Okay, so that is one thing here, they have mentioned the term denazification. This denazification terms relate to your post-war era, wherein denazification refers to the process of eliminating the remnants and the influence of the Nazism from the after the World War. Okay, so they are still, this is just an excuse. Okay, because when we are talking about the president of Ukraine, he is a Jew. Okay, so and Jews has a history of some conflict with the Nazis. So that is why we can say that this is just some excuse. So this is about that. Other than that, there was one more development that has happened, that there is this Siberian battalion. Okay, this unit is made up of Russians who have joined Ukrainian military. Okay, they have joined Ukrainian military ranks to fight against their homeland, to help out the Russian president Vladimir Putin. So basically, they are trying to change the regime of Putin. But the thing is, they are not doing it here. They are doing from the Ukrainian side. They have joined the Ukrainian military. Okay. So they are from the ethnic minorities from the Russia's far east. Okay, this Siberia is basically Russia's far east, and they have joined the Ukrainian army now. Okay, so this you can remember, or you just have to have an idea that what is going on in the geopolitics. That is why we have taken this. Other than that, it might not be important for an exam. Okay. Moving further, House approves Biden impeachment inquiry. So basically, they have just approved the impeachment inquiry, and the impeachment process is not been started yet. So obviously, just the impeachment inquiry, there will be an inquiry on Mr. President Biden. Here, that inquiry is related to their, the probe will focus on the Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, who in 2014 joined the board of Ukrainian gas company Burisma around the time his father was the then vice president, took care of the Obama's administration Ukraine policy. So basically, they are talking about conflict of interest here. Okay. So that is why they are going for this particular probe. That is about this article. And now we'll have a look at the perfect storm of deadly diseases in the Gaza as war with the Israel grinds on. So basically, as I told you, that health services in Gaza has collapsed, and because of which there are many things going on there. And now there is an issue of various cases of diarrhea or other cases related to child suffering from the dehydration, causing kidney failures in some cases, while severe diarrhea was 4 times higher than the normal case of hepatitis A. All these things are increasing in that area. So that is why we are saying that there can be a perfect storm of deadly diseases in the area because of the war situation going on, and war situation making it worse basically. So that is why we have taken this. That is the you can say that when we are discussing the impacts of war, that can be a one impact wherein health can be an issue. Other than that, vulnerability of women and children. So basically, we do not consider the impacts of war in such terms. We mostly go for the economic terms. The prices of oil, etc., has risen. But the thing is, these are the impact of wars which have impacts on the humanity. Actually, the victims, the most vulnerable victims of the war are women and the children. Okay, so that is why we have taken this article. Just one aspect which you can cover in the impacts of war, not only in the Russia, Ukraine, or in Gaza. You can use it in your conflict, peace and conflict studies everywhere. Okay. Now we'll see this particular article which I have taken. As I told you that you have to do it as for your homework. Article says that asymmetrical federalism. Okay. So basically, they are talking about federalism and a type of federalism which India is following. Okay. Asymmetric here means that there is some kind of you can say changes between the type of federalism we are using. Like, let's say when we are considering the states, all states are not equal here. Okay, certain states have some kind of special status. When we are talking about the 370, it was the best example of that. Okay, till the time we wanted to have a bridge between Jammu and Kashmir then and India, we have provided for the article 370 or a special status to Jammu and Kashmir. So that is an example of your asymmetrical federalism. Okay. Other than that, we have article 371 also, that is also providing some kind of special status to different states. Okay. So for your exam point of view or a better understanding, you can go through this particular article, and this article will be covered in our polity primer section as well on the YouTube, so you can watch that video as well. Okay, so that would be all for today's newspaper. Let's see the practice question which was given to you in the last class. Hijron ka khanka is associated with which religious or spiritual practice? Okay, Sufism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism. Okay, so now this is related to Sufism. Okay, they are this is Hijron ka khanka basically is the monument where there are many graves of person from the eunuch community. Okay, so they are performing some kind of activities over there, some celebrations over there. Okay, and these celebrations looks like they are from the Sufism or Sufi ideologies, etc. Okay, they do not go for any kind of idol worship or any kind of god worship from all these three religious practices. So you can say that this is related to Sufism. Okay, so option A would be your right answer. We have discussed it in the previous lectures. Now moving further, which of the following best describe the production linked incentive PLI scheme introduced by the Indian government? Option A is a program designed to provide tax exemption for new manufacturing unit, incentive aimed at promoting exports in the service sector, a scheme offering financial incentives to boost production in the selected sectors, D, a policy framework to increase foreign investment in agriculture. Okay, so you have to attempt this question and answer in the comment box. Moving further, we'll have a look at the mains question. How the recent geopolitical shift influenced the evolving relation between India and Maldives, and what are the key factors contributing to the changing dynamics between the two nations? Okay, here we have discussed two examples here, but the thing is what you can do is you can change, you can discuss about the China factor here as well. Okay, you can discuss about the change in regime. You can discuss why Maldives, why Maldives is important for India, and you can also discuss why India is also important for Maldives, because most of the time China try to go for the transactional relationship. Okay, transactional relationship matlab if you are going you are giving something in the return of something else. Okay, but India does not do that. That is why India becomes a reliable partner. So okay, you can discuss all those aspects. Other than that, you can go read about this relation India Maldives history of the relations or the background of the relations, and based on that you can write this answer. This will cover up one topic from your international relation point of view. Okay, with that I would wrap up the session. I'll see you in the next session. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.